Welcome to the Shift podcast, where midlife, medicine, and mindset meet. We're breaking the silence around women's health and simplifying the path to feeling strong, clear, and better than ever. Hosted by me, Heidi Swap, with insights from Dr. Vaughn Watts and stories from real women. The Shift podcast is here to challenge the narrative, empower you with information, and create a new vision for your next chapter.
I want them to understand. So I had an amazing career. And yes, it was like the highest.
She's dancing across the world, ballroom dancing with her husband, who is this hunky 6 foot
muscly man,
muscly guy that can throw her from here to China.
And probably most of you listening have we've probably seen you on TV without even realizing it.
If you're old enough.
If you grew up watching those shows, which I think a lot of us did.
Yeah.
Oh, my girls.
Oh yeah, we loved it. We watched a lot of. My kids, my wife, everybody.
It was miraculous.
She's on Broadway. She's traveling internationally on tours. Yes. Like everything. And then the dream of all dream happens, right? She gets pregnant.
Yes.
Which she didn't think.
Well, I believed, but again, was told.
Everybody told her.
Well, and again, my periods obviously shut down because your body's self-preserving. And when you're dying, it's like, I'm not going to do this. When you're dancing
anyway.
You know?
Well, and there's a body fat issue there as well. If you're below a certain percent, like it'll shut your period down. And
of course.
And at that point, you probably had no body fat to mess with.
It was awful. Like it was uncomfortable to sit on chairs. I mean, I hated it. I went from a strong, like vital dancer to looking literally like a prisoner of a concentration camp, you know? And so there was also that whole identity of like, I don't even recognize myself. I stopped looking in the mirror because it's like, that's not me, you know? And so there's so many layers that I had to work through to like reclaim myself. Right. But I had my child. Yes. So I got pregnant.
She's 11.
My daughter's 11 now.
Could we just contextualize how old you are? I mean, she's a baby, but
I'm 42 now.
I mean, 42. She's past 40, so she is a little bit of a grown-up, but
I'm a little bit of a grown-up. I became an old lady at 13.
Baby.
Let me tell you.
You're stronger
11
than most.
years ago has this beautiful baby, which just defies every odd.
Yes. And I always felt her, and I did feel her. And it was amazing. And I was back on stage 1 month later, which was a little crazy. I didn't know.
Well, after all the other stories, this is not shocking, right? This is like,
I didn't know though. If you want to we're just all human, right? I was performing. I was in a Latin ballroom dress, like and I was in between numbers behind this partition, like breast, like pumping. And I'm just like, this is the funniest. Like you've seen Dance with the Stars, you know, looking a certain way, and then because back then they were louder.
They were
you know,
and I'm just like both at the same time.
And you had to hold, and I just like, wow, what my life has really changed. You know, it just made me laugh, but at the same time, so grateful. So my husband and I, she would come with us and travel with us. And it was just, like life is at its peak. We're at the height of our professional career. I have this child. I have a healthy body. And like I went through lots of injuries through my professional career. I'm not discounting that. There was a lot. So it was always a kind of fight, right? And I'd already had one hip surgery by now, right? So I'd already had one hip surgery at 28 years old.
Wow.
Relearned to walk again, all of that, right? But I'm good. I'm healthy. I just had a baby. And then my left hip started to show the same symptoms as my right. I had a right hip surgery. And part of it was genetic. And part of it was just the wear and tear and repetition, which I didn't know. I didn't know I had a genetic thing until it hit me. Like my hips didn't bother me through my career until they were like, hey, what's up? We've been being damaged. So with this surgery, you have to
29
wait.
Professionally dancing, like she was a little bit old.
I was old. No. I mean, in
at that level,
I mean, Broadway was really the kicker. I mean, So You Think You Can Dance was really hard. By the end, we were dancing like 12 hours a day.
Wow.
We had to get vitamin B shots. My husband's tendonitis in his elbows was so bad he could like not hold a water bottle because you're not meant to dance that hard. Right. You can't put enough nutrition in that you're asking out. Like my fingernails were peeling because we were just asking so much of our bodies, but it's like once in a million lifetime opportunity. You do it, right? Yeah. I danced the finale with 8 tears in my shoulder. Like, not proud of it, but I was pumping Motrin and Tylenol just to get through.
And now we do not recommend touching Tylenol, please.
I was always very cognizant of not overdosing. Okay. That's why I was alternating Motrin and Tylenol.
There you go.
Anyhow, we're here. I'm healthy. After the hip surgery, you have to wait at least a year to get pregnant because women have undone the surgery giving labor, like during labor, right? So my left hip started and I tried everything to avoid surgery, and we just knew, because by the time I finally fixed my right hip, I was not walking at all. And I thought, did I do permanent damage? And so I'm like, okay, we're going to do the left hip and then we can further our family and get back to our career. I've done this before.
There's one doctor.
Yes. And, this is the later, but I went to a different surgeon that did my right hip because Obamacare changed health insurance. He was out of my network. But I went to a very well vetted, he does all the athletes, and it failed. The left hip surgery totally failed. And I lost the ability to walk completely, and it launched my entire body into chronic pain. And my daughter was 2. I couldn't even lift her, couldn't bend down. It was like nightmare round 2. And when I went into this surgery, I was my strongest physical self I had ever been. I was like a machine, which again, I say from a cherishing place, from someone who couldn't lift a book to getting so strong and so capable. And I was also a trainer because fitness was my avenue back to being strong enough to dance. And it was always my avenue back from all of my injuries. So
Don't worry, she was just a trainer in Beverly Hills.
Which I'll tell you, I did not love, because it's all vanity, not like health. Functionality. I want to be strong. And that was my passion. Like, I want to lift heavy things. Like, I want to be capable. Yeah. So it kind of like drained the life force. I wanted to work with people who wanted to be healthy. Right. But yes, right on. But I didn't love it. Anyhow, that's another story. So strongest self to deja vu, but now in a total different reality of what happened in that surgery.
And it kind of gave your brain, it kind of did, you kind of thought, well, here's proof that I'm broken.
Well, and that's what I didn't know what was happening again. My brain, again, warranted, was like, here we are again. Let's go. Survival mode on overdrive. So it was a very real stimulus. The doctor left a hole in my hip that wasn't visible in an MRI. Right. So it wasn't just my brain, which often happens, and the brain can do all types of things, but there often is a catalyst, a stimulus that then tips it over the edge. Right. In my case, there was something very wrong. There was a hole in my hip that messed up the entire structural integrity of my body. But my brain took that threat and took it to a whole new level because it was cross-referencing almost dying for 4 years. So this is a real threat. And let me just stress signals, which I know just took what was already happening structurally and took it to a whole new level, which is why then I ended up with pain in like 12 different areas of my body, right?
Man.
So then I'm diagnosed with over 5 different chronic pain conditions, and I'm like, I've got this. I know what to do. And I went everything you can think of, and I had over 200 injections. We're talking stem cell, PRP, prolotherapy.
Talk about how many pills you were taking a day.
When I was sick, up to like 100, which we'll talk about how my body couldn't even metabolize that. But
no, that's not even possible.
That was a functional doctor at the time.
That's way too much.
He screwed up my gut. So you just have to be careful, right? But any biohack, I was doing anything. Acupuncture. I threw everything because I knew the body can overcome this, but I just kept getting worse and worse and worse. We were about to lose our home because we're just spending everything we possibly have on my health. I was sleeping maybe 2 to 3 hours a night. Which
complicates it because that's when you do the majority of your healing.
Exactly.
So if you can't sleep, you stunt the healing process.
Right. But when you're in debilitating nerve pain, you have no choice. And I remember, this whole Tylenol debate, but on a very personal level, I remember one night I realized I went through an entire Costco-sized Tylenol bottle by myself over the course of years. Okay. I remember sitting in my pantry floor crying. It was like 3 a.m. And I remember saying, God, I can't keep doing this, but also I have to sleep. And sometimes it was like, I take something that takes a little edge off and I might get 2 to 3 hours or I get none. I mean to the point of one night I was so desperate to sleep. Like, you're military. I know what it's like to be sleep deprived torture, because I was so sleep deprived. My brain is my strongest asset. I am a determined, strong brain, but it was like, I know what it's like for your brain to start to shut down, because we know it can only drain during sleep, right? The lymphatic system. My brain literally was like, I am trying.
I like how you touched on that. Like, most people don't even know what the lymphatic system is. So like but yes, it's so true. It's 100% true.
My brain was like, I never get to shut down. I never get to detox. But I remember one night I was so desperate. Like, I have to sleep. I was searching, and this is desperation, for some Oxycontin that I had left over from a surgery, right? And I'm very in control, and I'm grateful for that, because I have absolute empathy why people in chronic pain end up addicted to drugs. And it's just because you literally want to sleep. You want to sit with your family and be there and not be tortured by pain, right? So I have such empathy. It will make you crazy.
Empathy. Sleep deprivation will literally make you crazy.
And then being in pain 24 hours a day is hell.
Yeah.
Like, this was harder than dying. It really was. And
because you're dealing with, it's not just pain. And so people understand this, because as a chiropractor, and that's what we do as a central nervous system, we're talking nerve pain.
Yes.
And nerve pain, anybody who's ever had a toothache where you feel like, oh my gosh, this is the worst pain, that's nerve pain. Now imagine that through your body.
Yeah. You're on fire.
It's exactly. It is. And there's almost nothing you can do about it.
That's right. And that's that night I was so desperate. I was rummaging, trying to find an Oxycontin that I had left over. And I remember taking it and sitting and waiting for something to happen. 45 minutes later, an hour later, hour and a half later, nothing. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I have a type of pain that literally some of the strongest pain medicine won't even touch, which is why I was doing all these injections and trying, because I also didn't want to take pain medicine. And you're just stuck in a hell of, I've got to sleep, but I don't want to take pain medicine. But even if I do take it, I'm getting 3 hours, but 3 hours is better than 0 hours. And it's just a hell. And I remember one night after we tried everything and I'm being diagnosed, I was sent fibromyalgia pamphlet. I was told, it's only downhill from here. Like, I can't make this stuff up. I had a leading pain doctor tell me, it's only downhill from here. And I looked at him, and now I'm...
You're like, hold my swing.
I did. I literally... Now I'm...
That's what you needed.
Yeah.
You needed for somebody to tell you. That's because the thing of the first time, like, now your brain went into, oh wait, you're telling me I can't do this?
Well, yeah.
Oh, okay. Now that's maybe that for you. Who knows? I'm just saying, maybe that was your tipping point.
Well, I'll tell you my tipping point. But I was now a woman, and I told him, listen, this is not my first rodeo. And I had some words to say to him. And I said, honestly, I'm not mad about me, because I know who I am and I don't accept. But how many people have you told this to? And they are in pain and they're not getting answers, and they leave here and they accept it and they give up. That's what I'm mad about, because you're the expert and my reality is hell. And my reality is telling me this is my life and it is downhill from here, because pain gets worse. Your brain gets better at whatever it practices. So of course it gets better at pain, and those pain receptors lose sensitivity. So they send to different areas. It's not just you're broken and now it's going to spread and get worse. But nobody talked to me about this. I had to study pain science. Like, I had to take it into my own hands, going, oh, all pain comes from the brain. How come no one's treating the brain? That's what first led me. But my breaking point, I am such a strong, determined soul. But my chronic pain journey nearly broke me. I hadn't slept for years. We were losing our home. My daughter couldn't even hug me because my nerves would go on fire. My family's in hell, and there seems to be no answer. Earlier that day, my husband and I were talking, and I was like, there's nothing left. And I mean it. Functional, Western, alternative, regenerative, holistic. There's nothing left. And that night, my husband and I were sleeping separately because I barely slept. He needed to sleep, right? Because he was doing so much for the family. And I was laying on my bedroom floor, in the fetal position, just rocking back and forth. Again, just not even knowing how the body can tolerate, because you start shaking trying to get through that much pain. If you've had surgery or something, your body start shaking, trying to process this pain. And that was the closest I've ever felt to wanting to give up. Like depleted just to my soul. And I remember thinking, well, what if I just give up? What if I just accept that this is it? Because it's not just what you're going through, it's the effort to try to fix it that is so exhausting. And we're in so much medical debt and we're trying everything, right? And insurance doesn't cover all of that. So it's all out of pocket. Stem cells are $6,000 to $10,000 for one. And I just remember sitting in that truth and that reality and what that would mean for me and my family. And that's when me, Ashleigh, and that 13-year-old girl was like, no. And it scared me because I had refused to die for 4 years, like refused. And now I was at a place of like, I don't know if I can keep doing this. Like I literally said, like, had this feeling of it would be more merciful for you to take me. Merciful for me and merciful for my family. For a woman, for a little girl to go from, I will not die, God, like, sorry, I'm staying here, to, I don't know if I can do this anymore. That scared me that I could get to that place. And it made me feel so much empathy for how people get there. And that was my turning point. And that's when I said, well, if I can't find the solution, I'm going to create it. And if they say my nervous system flipped a switch into pain, well, I'm going to figure out how to flip it back. And that next morning I started studying neuroscience like my life depended on it, and used this age of information and subscribed to neuroscience journals and started to just dive into the brain and pain science, but just also how the nervous system gets altered and all the aspects of our life that alter it and how to start unwinding and healing and addressing that. And I became my own guinea pig of creating my process by emotional healing, and it saved my life. And
you know what? So I want to come back because you said the word fibromyalgia. And I want to touch on it because I used to treat a lot of women would come in and they'd have a diagnosis of fibromyalgia, which honestly is also a diagnosis of we don't know, we quit. And so I actually break it down for them. I say, let me tell you what fibromyalgia means. Okay, we're going to break it down from the Latin binomials in there. Okay, fibro, tissue, myo, muscle, algia, pain. So you went in and said, Doc, I have pain all over my body and my muscles and my tissues. And the doc said, you have muscle tissue pain. No, that's what I just told you. You just turned it around and said it in a fancy word, which basically equates to, we don't know what's causing it.
Right.
So we're going to give you this fake diagnosis of fibromyalgia, which means absolutely nothing and has absolutely no resolve. Yep. And so if you have this kind of diagnosis, I would desperately seek out someone like you who can help you, because really it is a neural pathway issue and it can be fixed. 100% it can be fixed. I've seen it fixed. I've helped fix it. But there are some that are even, and I've obviously as a chiropractor before, I completely switched over into functional medicine. I dealt with a lot of people dealing with pain, especially like sciatica pain, which is, that's the largest nerve in your body. And that is excruciating. And you get to understand, like, and it's a real thing. Like when you look at people that deal with, and I'm going to be candid, maybe not as much with women, but men that are going through the kind of pain that you went through, there is a high level of suicide with that 100%. Because it is such excruciating pain that you can never, it's not like you can escape it even for like 30 minutes a day.
It's torture.
It literally, you're being tortured nonstop. And
by your own body.
But there is hope. Yes. There's hope. And this is such an amazing story in the fact that this person who just can't accept A minuses took to studying neuroscience. You know that she studied it to the nth degree, right? So it's like you really went out there.
Like aggressive.
Yeah.
And here's the beautiful thing that I want to say, and why I worked with Heidi, is because first pain brought me to this. And that was beautiful, because pain is one of the most complex things to rewire, because it's the number one protective mechanism in the body. It's how it informs us things are wrong, right? The people who have that rare genetic mutation and don't feel pain, they live a short life because they're not getting feedback.
You're not getting that check engine light.
That's right. Hey, something's wrong with my gut. Oh my gosh, I think I tore something in a muscle or a joint, a ligament. You're not getting feedback. But what I realized is that was my stress response. That's how it manifested for me, based on my body, based on my surgeries, based on what my experience had been. But other people, those alarm bells manifest in anxiety, depression, trauma, gut issues, all degree of autoimmune and health challenges as well. And I'm not, again, disputing that there's real physical impact. And we can't dispute that the brain is the command center of all of it. And it is sending signals all the time. And the only way it can get our attention is through stress signals, right? If we feel good and we're doing great, then we're not paying attention. So the brain and body send stress signals to get our attention. And that's where we've been so conditioned to just fix it and not go, what's going on?
Or cover it up.
Or cover it up.
Just like numb it.
Yes.
I think
you look at your nervous system, right? The way it works. Okay. You have your brain, the spinal cord comes down through the spine, right? And then through each vertebra. And this is chiropractic in a nutshell. When the nerves for every single thing, for every muscle, every organ, every pain receptor, every single thing that you get, think of it like an electrical wiring, right? Comes out of your spinal cord and then goes. But it all begins at the fuse box.
Right.
If you trip a fuse, then none of the electrical wires work, right?
That's right.
And so, and that's the brain. So it controls all of that. That's how when you go to talk about chiropractic and get adjusted, well, being just slightly misaligned, like they measured it, these neuroscientists measured it out of the university, I think it was Colorado, they're somewhere in Colorado. The weight of a nickel laying on the nerve, just laying on it, decreased nerve conduction by like 20 or 25% or something like that. Nothing else, just that. So even just being slightly out where you have that hole where the nerve comes out, just slightly, we're talking millimeters change, puts pressure on the nerve, which then causes the issue. So now you imagine somebody who's in major pain. Well, that's still coming from the brain.
Right.
It's coming from the brain.
Everything is.
Everything.
Right? And we do have bottom up too, right? The body is always informing the brain and the brain is informing the body, right? There's that two-way relationship happening. But ultimately, the brain is the command center. It is in charge. And that's why I always say we have to treat the brain and the body. We have to treat the person, right? One of my favorite quotes from Hippocrates was, "It is more important to know what sort of person has the disease than the sort of disease the person has."
It's a great
we have to treat the person. And that's a lot through bioemotional healing too, is we are definitely treating the brain, but we're looking through that biopsychosocial lens. We're looking at the person. We're looking at their life. We're looking at not only present behaviors, but the things in their life that have altered them. Because anything impactful, you have to know your brain literally takes a snapshot of that and it embosses it neurologically in the limbic system, right? The emotional brain, where all our protective responses come from. And the brain is cross-referencing that always in real time because there is no time clock there. That's why trauma can feel like it's happening live. In the moment.
It's always there.
Right. It's always being cross-referenced in real time on how to best protect you based upon what you've already gone through. And that's why it's so individual and it doesn't have to make sense, right? So someone else, like I said, the stress responses manifest more mental and emotional for some people, more physical for other people, or a combination, because of all those components that your brain is looking at like this to say, how do I communicate? How do I protect you? What do we need to do to be safe? Because that's really all the brain cares about. People say, you hear it all the time, the brain isn't wired for happiness. Well, it's not wired for happiness or depression or anxiety. It's wired for what it believes is safe for you. And that's based on your life. And it's been collecting all that data. And the more impactful things you've gone through, the more that where it hurt you, it altered you. And it could even be a statement someone made that to someone else, they're like, whatever. To another person, now they adopt it as a belief and it becomes their identity. So it's so personal. And that's where we have to look at the person as a whole and look at all those pieces collectively in order to not just regulate the nervous system, which everyone talks about, and that's great. You need to regulate to rewire. But my mission is we don't need to have a management system the rest of our life. we can rewire it. That's a total different ballgame. That is an actual process. That is partnering with the system to truly get it to let go, heal, process what it's been altered in, for your brain to go, okay, that happened, but I don't need to now stay in these mechanisms based on that. And then the brain is in this receptive place of like, now I'm going to become the creator and teach you a new way of operating. And that's my mission. Like, we truly can change. And I'm just not changed my health, right? Which is the most visible, like you wouldn't even believe if you can imagine and you saw me not walking and in that pain and not lifting a finger and dying to what I represent now. But what you can't see is that I don't have any trauma or PTSD around my body anymore. I'm not triggered by it. I have trust. I have belief. Like, that is just as significant from someone who has witnessed firsthand the depths of dying and the depths of physical pain that the body can create, is that I feel free, both physically, but internally. My operating system has changed. I can access fight or flight. I'm doing it a little bit right now, right? To speak passionately.
Right.
But I don't live there. And I have all that data bank of memory, but my system truly has changed. And that's what I want people to understand.
And this is, so when we talk about, like, my book that I released, Foundational Wellness, talks about the two main causes of disease, which is too much of the bad thing, not enough of the good thing, right? Nutritional deficiencies or toxic burdens. And you envelop everything I talk about when it comes to toxic burdens in this one toxin. Because most people look at me, okay, now you're getting into the voodoo. Because when I talk about toxins, they think, environmental toxins, pesticides, heavy metals, molds, parasites, and then I always end with emotional toxins. And that's when I lose people. And then I always say, well, hang on, let's go. What happens when you increase stress? It affects the function of your adrenals, right?
Right.
Now, what happens when you have you haven't dealt with PTSD, emotional traumas that are still present? Those emotional toxins, is what I call them, will prevent you from fully healing.
Yep.
And you have to, and if you've gone through, and there's people who've gone through some really rough things, mentally, emotionally, abuse. And if you are one of these people that are really suffering with some kind of ailment, and you have been someone that went through maybe some abuse or some major trauma, this is exactly what you are doing here. You are helping these people to get through, rewiring it, releasing that trauma so they can heal. Because if you do not release that trauma, you can't heal, not completely. Well, and this is perfect. I'm so glad you're here today, because this is
fascinating, right?
It is. And this is where too, when people, like I said, that's the one thing when I talk about toxins, I get the eye roll, like, okay, voodoo doctor. And I'm like, this is a real thing. You talk about psychosomatic, you can make yourself sick, you can make yourself in pain. These are all real things. And here you are, the embodiment of having gone through all of this. I just have one last question with this is, how long did you go through that second round of hell?
Yeah.
Before you came out the other side?
5 years.
Wow. With that kind of pain?
Yeah. 3.5 years, the worst of it. Because obviously I can expedite that journey now for people, but it was a journey for me, right? As I was studying and putting pieces together and figuring it all out. But we tried everything for about 2 years, of all the different treatments and modalities. And then that's when I dove in, and it took about 5 years. You have to understand, by then I had very well conditioned nerve pain in 12 areas of my body. I mean, I was also diagnosed with interstitial cystitis, bladder pelvic pain, which people commit suicide all the time with that. That by itself is a type of hell. You can't even tolerate a tampon, just to give people an idea. It is just like, if you've had a UTI, this is on steroids, 1 million every moment of every day. I had that. I had, chronic regional pain syndrome. I had horrible gut things at that time. Like I had a lot to work through, right? And I was in the process of unwinding that. And eventually I did have to have a hip surgery because I had a hole. And that was where there was one doctor in the world at the time that could do it. It wasn't even an insurance like coded surgery yet. I was one of the first, like, how do we rebuild a hip capsule, right? Because all the time people are like, just have a hip replacement. I'm like, that's not the problem. And I have healthy bone. I'm not going to go cut that out. That's not going to solve anything. But the hole wasn't visible in an MRI. We had to do this exploratory because I just also knew the structural integrity of my body was off, you know? And so my body was sending alarm signals. Also, my spine ended up curving to the left, which scarred my rib cage to my scapula because my body was trying to compensate for the hips are the most important, like structural integrity, right? The biggest weight bearing joint of your body. And so when there's something wrong there, the ramifications are huge, right? So I had to also address that. And that was a 2-year recovery. It was the most intense surgery. But speaking of that too, I know what it's like to learn how to walk again. And our brains are so incredible. Like, I know what it's like to have to concentrate, to communicate, to take one little step, to now, again, I just do it. But I know how hard my brain is working to communicate to every single muscle and nerve to just take a step. And I just share that to be like, no matter how broken or damaged you feel at this moment, your brain is doing such amazing things for you. Your body is doing such amazing things for you. And if it can do those things great, it can do these other things great again also.
How is this not a movie yet? Seriously, right? I'm not even kidding. Like, have you written a autobiography about this?
I'm working on it.
I say, because I'm saying what a remarkable
we talked about this when we hike. Yes. How's the book coming, Ash?
You gotta get that.
Bio-emotional healing was first, and now, yes.
So here's what is kind of interesting. You know, many of our audience members here, and I mean, I hope those of you who are listening will share this. It's life-changing. When I met Ashleigh, and I was really unfiltered anger, and I was really mad at everyone, everything. The anger was, and I believed that made me a bad person. Mm-hmm. Like, because if I couldn't manage my anger, then I wasn't being Christ-like. I literally wanted to burn down my everything. And I've got a beautiful family, everything that I had worked for. And I was so mad at myself for being so mad. Mm-hmm. Like, so it was like, and I know it is nothing compared, like my little hamstring injury and my little shoulder injury, and then my kid's suicide and my daughter's accident, like all of these things kind of pale in comparison. So
you lost a child.
You can't discount it. No. You can't discount it. It's different.
And I'm not actually discounting it, but at that time I was very dismissive because I just expected myself to just do what I needed to do. And I couldn't. And I was pissed about it. And everybody expected me to do what I've always done. And all my prayers ran out. And I couldn't fast, and I couldn't go to the temple, and all the things that people tell you to do. Like, I did not care. I did not want to care. I did not want to be there, you know. And I wasn't hurting. I wasn't in pain. Well, you were, though.
I could eat. But it was different. It was different in pain. It was internal, emotional.
But I didn't know, literally did not know that my nervous system was on fire. I did not know. I had just been cooking in that for so long. It was just normal. So I couldn't understand. And it took Ashleigh 30 seconds. And then it's so funny because she just kind of listened to me, kind of baited me. Kind of just like, yeah.
She's pulling it out of you is what she was doing.
And she wasn't.
I told her to be angry.
And she's just listening very calmly to my rage, which I had literally never expressed.
That's the question I was going to ask you. Have you ever had the opportunity to just let it out?
No, because I never met her. Most people who I'm around know the story.
Right, but had you ever vocalized that anger?
No, because I'm not allowed to.
But
because I am a woman of prayer and faith in Christ, and we don't lose our cool.
But you have to vocalize.
I've been wearing a bracelet for 10 years that said, don't freak out.
And I told you to freak out.
Yeah, you need a new bracelet. Freak out.
She did.
You know, I
had stabbed the balls. I mean, like I had been trying so hard to remain calm. Like calm was the only thing I wanted.
Yeah.
And it really took somebody that could spot it, because I never would have gone to a doctor. And I'd had plenty of therapy. I had done all the things I was supposed to do. And so I just didn't know.
But had you screamed it? That's the thing. You do talk about it, but do you have a chance to really let the anger out and yell?
She didn't let herself. That's really the key. Because of that one thing that I know you wanted to talk about.
And you have to let it out. Like my wife's convinced. So she was diagnosed with thyroid cancer a few years ago. And prior to that.
When you're a thyroid doctor?
Yeah. And I looked at the doc and they're like, oh, we want to take it out. And I'm like, you ain't taking anything out. Like, go away. But it was, and 6 months later, she was good. So she's married to the right guy. But also one thing she realized, at least what she came with is, prior to that, she was a person, I used to upset me because she's such a sweet woman, and she had people that would take advantage of that. And her voice, she didn't let her voice go. And she believed, honestly, after that experience, now she found her voice, right? But she firmly believes that because she was never able to speak her voice, that it stuck here, and that emotional trauma created that cancer in her throat because she refused to speak her voice. And same with you, it's like you went through all this stuff, but you had, and she knew that already. She's baiting you. She's like, no, she's like getting like, you need to scream it out. You need to yell it out, because until you do that, you've never had the opportunity to just get it out. And you have to, if you're going through this, you have to find somebody that will allow you to just let 100% of that raw emotion and feeling out physically in words. They have to come out. And if you can't get it out, you can't heal.
It was interesting because she wasn't like, and I'm a specialist in this and let me help you. It was these little teeny drops, and we're there for a week together. And in the middle of the week, we have this breathwork guy come, and he's saying the exact same things that I'm hearing Ashleigh say. And so it was kind of that pardon me, like the voice of two or three witnesses. Like, right. Like, so now I have two people.
So now the weird voodoo-ness is like, okay, wait, two people are saying this.
And I am at this juncture, 1 year ago, anti-voodoo. For myself. Right. Don't worry, I've taken my kids to some things, right, and I've advocated for my kids, but I don't hold myself in the same category at all. I hold myself in this do or die, all or nothing. I mean, I got A- once or twice, but I
Heidi's one of my favorite people.
Allow myself to falter,
yes,
or to not hold what I had to hold. And not only that, but if somebody else was not holding the responsibility, I just picked that up for them because I just am a responsibility. So and so here I'm just holding and mad, right? And so here is why I didn't know what nervous system was. I didn't know that I could be in control of it. That was really insightful, but that wasn't enough, because I still held myself. I had an expectation of myself that wasn't fair. And I think that as women, whether that's holding it back so that because you don't want other people to feel uncomfortable, or you're trying to prove something. And I don't even think I was trying to ever prove it to anybody else except for me, because I am real mean. You should hear it. She's not a nice person. And I knew that, but it also
which is not true.
Kept me.
Which is not true. What it is you were in a state of fight or flight for so many years that it manifested in probably impatience and shortness, because you don't have time, because you are here, you're going. Your fight or flight is like, it has to happen now, like right now. And so there's very little patience and very little wiggle room within that. And so, but She's a very nice person. I love her.
She's not nice to herself.
Oh, to yourself.
Yes.
To the things that were happening.
You're hard on yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, very hard.
And explain what bio-emotional healing is. Because it's a hard word. I need like a cuter word for it.
My process?
BizMap. Or, I don't know.
What is it?
Bio-emotional healing.
I like it though. Well, if you think it really
very,
is bio, right?
It explains it though.
Our biology.
If you knew what I don't know. So explain.
For those that didn't get A-.
Well, if you just think biology, brain, nervous system, body, right? The nervous system is that communication link. We have to address that. So brain, our biology, our physiology, all of that is so important. But then the emotional has to be there because the greatest impact on our nervous system is emotional. It's not the event. It's the impact of that event.
So against what I believed because I really thought I was just stronger than that.
Me too, right? It was a real ego hit, which it wasn't, but it was for me to go, wait, my illness really impacted me versus like, I did it. I fought through, I survived. I'm not a victim
pioneer
mindset.
Heritage.
Yeah.
There is nothing that can stop me. Like I cannot be stopped except for by my psychotic thought and psychotic. I don't mean that. I
emotions,
just mean that.
Emotion. Like what's hard for, here's what it is. It's hard for someone like, think about it. Okay. Like yourself and actually both of you clearly like high achievers, very successful. It's
very common amongst my clients.
And so it's like when you have that kind of personality, you're like, I've been through hell and back. I've done this. I've almost lost everything and brought it here. I've done blah, 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 blah. And what's going to be my Achilles heel or my emotions? And that is hard for someone like you and yourself to internally like, really, that's my Achilles heel? And the reality of it is
a manifestation that I can't control.
But now think about this, right? Where does that even come from? Even the term Achilles heel, right?
From the Greek gods, right?
No, what was his name?
Zeus?
No.
It
was
Achilles?
No.
I know.
Yeah, it was Achilles.
Yeah.
He was a strong warrior. Nobody could touch him. But even the strongest, the one thing that could get him was this tiny little thing. And you think about you. She'll think the same thing. This strong warrior. And what's getting you is this little thing that you're like, how could that be my Achilles heel? Well, that's exactly what it usually is for somebody who's so strong because anything else you've powered through and you can master. It's the things that you haven't mastered or didn't know that you had to master because you probably dismiss it. Like there's no way an emotion could bring me to here. And it's like, actually, yeah, it can. And it is strong. And I'm glad that there's more and more people like you that are coming out because there is a stigma around this kind of stuff. Sure. Whether it be like, oh, that can't be what it is, or whether it be, okay, that's some weird voodoo stuff. And it's like, okay, but what's your other option? You've been told there's no hope. Right. And so this is the option. It's always been the option. We're just now advancing in knowledge and medicine, and people like you are trailblazers. And there are so many people. I don't know if there's other people that are you training people? Are you teaching this technique?
I have for the last year, just one to start. I'm so like, okay, it has to be the right people and they have to, because everything that I do, which it helps tap into my brain, but also helps me help my clients is based in neuroscience.
Yeah.
So, and this is where I want to segue because I'm like, when you can get someone to go, okay, this is the actual neuroscience behind it versus just like a feely. And there is a lot of that. And that is sometimes more somatic therapy. And I'm not discounting it. It's so important. But when you know the why and you know the what's happening in your brain behind it, then it also gives you permission to say, it's not just me, it's my brain. Like, it's not just me. This is the impact. And I will say that emotions are what make us human. It's what separates us from anything else. And I'm not saying animals don't have emotions, but humans and the depth of emotions and feeling, that's what makes us beautiful. That's what gives us depth. But we've categorized good and bad. And that's where we get stuck. So there's no allowance for the bad emotions, right? Because that doesn't serve me. When really, if we just allow, that's where we actually get to the depths of who we are as a human, and we get that contrast. It's that self-compassion that for you was so important because, and for me, because you can scream it out, you can talk it out, but if you do it with still shame, guilt, what's wrong with me, I shouldn't feel this, then you're actually not releasing it, right? You might go through the act, and that's where I've had so many clients, they're like, I've talked about this 5 billion times with therapy for 10 years. And I will say this isn't the only piece, but I want to wrap up with this where people can really understand it. What's missing for people is that self-compassion. Everyone is their worst critic overall. There's always an exception, but I've yet to meet a human who wasn't harder on themselves than others. Yeah. And it's genuine. Like we can have genuine love, forgiveness, acceptance for others, and we have this completely other rigid standard for ourselves. And that is human, right? And there's a lot of mechanisms that go into that are individual. But if you're not allowing from a place of compassion, then you're not releasing. And in fact, in neuroimaging, we have seen the brain when someone is in a self-critical place that often includes judgment and shame and guilt. It activates the brain's alarm bells. It activates your nervous system. So when you are guilting, shaming yourself towards the emotion, towards the thing in your life you want to change, you are actually making that thing worse. When you are doing that, you're activating your fight or flight mechanisms, the neural synapses, and we've observed this in the brain, which is where information is exchanged. They lock up. When they lock up, your brain goes to survival patterns. When your brain is in survival patterns, your neural synapses actually really can't process or contemplate or integrate new information, which means you really can't change. So that harsh criticism, judgment is one of the biggest barriers to you actually being able to heal, to change your fight or flight mechanisms. And so one of the biggest things for you and for me and for most people is self-compassion will not change everything, but it is the gateway that opens up the capacity for your brain to even change, for you to even process your emotions, for you to then now be in a place to change, and for your brain to be. And that's where it's so important. And so the one thing that I want to say to that was so important, it's like, well, yes, great. How? And one of the first things that I hate when people tell you,
just love yourself.
Right.
And I'm like,
but when you've spent most of your life not like, you're like, oh, it's so easy for you to say, like, how is that impossible?
And consciously that's a good thing.
It sounds like a great idea.
And you're like, yeah, it makes total sense.
And you're like,
but when you're in fight or flight, and for people to understand fight or flight, physiologically, this is what happens. So fight or flight, we go back to our basic, 1,000 years ago when we're hunter-gatherers and being chased by lions and tigers and bears. What happens, your entire your body shuts down. So that's why some people extremely crazy moment, they pee themselves, right? Mm-hmm. Or it's because your body, what it's doing, you're going into fight or flight. So it's going to shut down the processes of digestion, of urination, all that stuff. So what's going to do is immediately empty, in some cases, empty bowels, empty your bladder immediately, because then it is only focused on at that moment survival. You can't heal during that time. You can't digest. You can't do any other real major thing other than absolutely necessary things, bodily functions to survive. And that is fight or flight. Now, that's an extreme, sure, right? But now you take that over. So yes, you can sleep and yes, you can digest. But when you're in the state of fight or flight, like this emotional fight or flight, you're still in a state that you're prevented from healing. You're prevented from your body being able, like the synapses and the neurons and stuff. You're truly prevented physiologically from those things happening. Like that is not even disputed.
Well, and I didn't realize that I didn't have access to be happy.
Right.
I didn't have access to enjoying myself. And it been going on for a long time.
You can't be present. I would say no matter what my clients come to me for, and there's such a huge breadth, the number one thing that everyone else always has is I just like to be present in my life. Like I'd like to be there and feel joy and feel calm.
I wrote down on my paper, I want to be able to go to lunch with my friends.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't access that.
Well, and even if you were there in the physical action, you were stressed, right? You could be working, you could be doing this. You couldn't really hear because your system was operating. Everything's urgent when you're in fight or flight, which means I got to be doing.
And you see people, that's why they're on their phone at dinner.
Yeah. Can't be.
Because they can't just be.
They can't be in the present. They're so concerned about the future or the past, and they never truly enjoy the present.
Which we've kind of trained ourselves.
We have.
So kind of go back to that, like, so we talked about the gateway. I think that I remember one of the most, Ashleigh says, okay, well, write down everything that you consider was hard in your life.
She's like, you want me to write a book?
Just on a paper. And I start writing this list. And it'll still make me cry. I just was like, okay, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And slowly I was like, I can see why. Add into just like, I had a lot of like just hating my physical body for so long. And even though I had kind of released some weight and I had made a bunch of progress, I was still just really good at hating my body. And I remember another exercise that you were like, gratitude. I had a real problem with gratitude. I thought, this is so stupid that I can't be grateful. Okay, I'm grateful for this road and for all those who made it. Like I couldn't feel grateful. I didn't realize at the time that it was because I was in this hypervigilance, but gratitude wasn't accessible. And so I'm watching my video and she's like, feel grateful for your arms because they let you hug. What people you love. Can't believe there's Kleenex in here.
No.
And I'm like, I'm so thankful that I could hug. And it was so transformative for me to let myself be grateful for my body. She's like, be grateful that your body built a baby. I think I was so busy building the baby, raising the baby, having the baby, that I couldn't even be grateful for that miracle, which I know seems kind of just so ungrateful.
No, it's human. It's that doer. Again, it's the stress response is do, be, accomplish. That's safe because I'm busy moving. And so it's hard. It's almost impossible. That's why we don't even do gratitude at the beginning because you're really not receptive to it.
No, I was not receptive.
See, and that's where I just want to say what really differentiates by emotional healing too is it's not just one modality or practice. It is a comprehensive that builds upon itself because some of the things we do 8 weeks in.
It felt like a college course, just in case anybody's wondering. I'm like, okay, I got it.
And I assume it's got to be like you see patients and they're different points or they're different.
Completely.
So they probably also, I'm assuming it's not the same for everybody.
It actually is.
Is it?
The process is the same because what I've learned.
So you're kind of building, like you're doing like building blocks.
Yes, because you're dealing with, and gratitude is very important at lowering the fear and defense networks in the brain. It, again, always the neuroscience is explained, but really well, you're not receptive yet until you turn off those internal alarm bells. And we have to do some processing before that happens. And so, yes, my clients are all over, but the process is the same. And we have that individual where we take little nuances, but this is the process and progression to rewire the nervous system. So that is what I have seen for 7 years now, notwithstanding how different clients are. And I want to just visit back to the opening, that self-compassion. Yes, a big part was you actually seeing on paper, wow, I've lived a life. Wow, I'm not a robot. No, this would impact, like having that bird's eye view of like, if this was someone else's life on paper, whoa, I have compassion that they've been impacted and altered, right? So that started just opening a little pathway for you to access the compassion you had for others, for yourself. And one thing that I want to emphasize, because everyone can relate to this, the how, because there's a lot to this, right? But the easiest shift you can do right now to how do I start having self-compassion? All your stress responses come from your emotional brain, all of them. So I want you to think of your emotional brain like a toddler. Okay. Toddlers are very emotional. They're very irrational. They don't have a prefrontal cortex yet. That is their thinking, logical, rational brain. That's why if you cut their sandwich wrong, it's like the end of the world. You leave the park early. It's like, whoa, my child just went from 0 to 100, right? Because they're in their emotional brain and they don't quite understand yet. Like the sandwich will taste the same. We're going to come back to the park. It's like, it's ruined. I'll never be here again, right? Because they don't have that top-down thinking yet. With a toddler, if we can have compassion for them, okay? If we've ever tried to shame them, guilt them, what's wrong with you? Oh my gosh, why are you acting this way? Nothing's going on. And I think we all have to some degree. What happens to that toddler? They get louder. Mm-hmm. They get more irrational because they're hurt. They don't feel good, right? They kick and scream. It's like, if I can't get your attention here, how loud do I have to get for you to pay attention? When you show a toddler some compassion, what do? They start like, okay. Then you can actually help them see, hey, we're going to come back to the park. But if you try to tell them that when they're in that emotional state, it's not getting through. Right? When you're in anxiety, when you got gut issues, when you're in pain, it's your emotional brain is firing. That's where that criticism, guilt, shame, you're just amplifying. You're putting fuel on the fire and you can't get in those other messages. So if you can go, okay, this is my emotional brain. This is my toddler brain. I'm not just broken, damaged. What's wrong with me? I shouldn't feel this. I should be better. But okay, wait, I've lived a life. I've been altered. This is my emotional brain. Okay, let me have compassion. Let me have curiosity. Let me see what this is connected to. Then the brain starts to receive this feeling of love, some safety, because compassion is the gateway to self-love and acceptance. There is no love and acceptance without first compassion. But if you can see that as your emotional brain and almost see that toddler version of you that's firing off, then you can get your nervous system to calm down. Then you get to access this even as an adult, because when the emotion is strong enough, this will always override this. Always, always, always. That's why it doesn't matter what you're like, yeah, that would be good. I should be. The emotional brain is like, good for you. I'm taking over. Thank you so much. But when you can understand, okay, this is my toddler brain. How would I treat a toddler? That is me. That is part of this. It just helps you start to access that self-compassion that then I want to leave with shifts, right? I know we could keep going and maybe we'll come back. There's so much to say, but how does that start to change and shift for you? When you can do that emotional brain, when you can put down on paper, like what you've gone through, you can stop just blaming yourself, right? What's wrong with me? You're so stupid. I should be this. I should be that. You can shift from what's wrong with me to what is my brain trying to tell me? What is my body trying to tell me? What are my emotions trying to tell me? Like, what in my life do I need to look at? Past, present, right? Combination. You can start to work with your body and brain than against it, right? Because when you go to that criticized shame, you activate those fight or flight mechanisms, and that just makes it all worse. So you can shift to, how do I make this go away, to what am I needing in this moment? Right? And so then you, again, can access the ability to change, to heal, to process.
Because it's never going to come from denying yourself. It's going to come from meeting the need.
Right.
One of the things that we used to talk about with, in my parenting podcast, like back in the day, when you had somebody, a child, or had somebody that comes to you and is suicidal, is sharing, I don't want to be here anymore. And whether you know why, or whether they know why, or, usually you have something that has, you said, some kind of stimuli that has made you feel that way. And what I learned was that the response was, of course you want to eject.
Sure.
I don't blame you, and when you taught that lesson, and I had been trained, and even with, since Corey's death, been in a situation to say to others, of course you feel that way. This just happened. Of course you feel that way. But I was denying that. For me. Right. Because I didn't think I was allowed that.
And to be the strong one.
And it didn't actually, it wouldn't have helped if somebody else said, of course you feel that way. Because I was still the one that was torturing holding myself there.
I love the fact that you write it down, because I could just imagine, and maybe this is just me imagining it, because I think about myself, everybody's, if we've been around long enough, you've been through things, right? You've lived.
Sure. Yeah.
And so when you finally write that down, all the things that you've been through, and if you're objective, and you read this list of things, and you said, man, if this was somebody else, I would be like, oh my gosh, I am so impressed with you.
Right.
Well,
and it allows you to really look at it and go, oh my gosh, this is impressive, because look at where you, for example, Heidi, we've shared a number of things about your story and things that you've gone through, your personal things about yourself, your kids, your family, all these different things. And then you look at where you're at in life, the success you've had in life, and all these things. And if you would be objective, anybody reading that list of things that writing would be so impressed, holy cow, and you're here? You go through this and you're here? Most people, I would think, if they gone through this, they would be here, but you're here, and it allows yourself probably. I'm just super impressed with this, and so I have to ask, because I know we're going to have people reaching out. Do you only do this in person, or do you do it virtually as well?
Yeah, most of my clients are virtual. So my clients are
Perfect.
all over the world. Thank goodness for Zoom, as much as we have a love-hate relationship with technology, right? It's beautiful.
No, but it allows you to connect and allows you to, because we will have people reaching out. We always do after episodes. And
it's
so
very effective.
How long is the program?
12-week process.
Okay.
For some people.
For some. No, but really, I tell clients, rinse and repeat, right? Anything is repetition.
But once you've learned the system.
That's exactly right. And I want to equip my clients, because I don't think I'm doing my job if someone is coming to me for decades.
So you're not just, they're not just going through a system, they're also going through an education process, so that 100%. You are empowering them on, you're not always going to need me.
I don't want them to, right? Because again, what I said at the very beginning, we all have this capacity. So it's not about, look what I did, I'll help you. It's, look what I did, let me show you, this is how you do it in your life. And not only rewire your nervous system, but go live your life now. And yes, it's rinse and repeating, but you have the knowledge and tools and capacity now. And what I will say, the other piece with that self-compassion is, all our stress responses once didn't exist. Okay. So when you can know that that's coming from protection, that's coming from your brain and body trying to get your attention, it shows you your resilience. When your brain and body can learn to do something in such a powerful way, even if it's negative, it shows you can change, because your body changed to that. Your brain changed to that. And we can change back. So it's not just that you're broken and damaged, because that's how everybody feels, whether it's mentally, emotionally, physically. This happened to me. I'm ruined. My body is damaged. That trauma impacted me forever. no, there was an impact that was learned, that was practiced, that got stronger, that broke you down. All of that can be unlearned and then rewired. And that's really what bioemotional healing is designed to do, and to empower people to feel that capacity and not just believe it, but witness it and have actual steps, tools, implementation, the how to do that in their life. Because we can all say, you're amazing, you can do it. But when you're like, I don't feel amazing, I don't feel like I can do it, I'm surviving every day, I need a step-by-step plan. What is step 1? What is step 2? And how do I build upon this? And that's really what bioemotional healing does.
Hardest thing and now you've had these, probably now, as you think back of the conversations that we've had and how this podcast has started, where it started, what I have shared, you're probably seeing some of what I learned from Ashleigh in kind of playing out a little bit in these podcast episodes, because where we started was that you need to create a vision of where you want to go, right? And that was the very hardest thing I remember that I couldn't even, she said, well, what do you want to feel? Different, you know, no, write down your day, write down your whole day. And like, once I finally it took me 2 weeks, I think. Mm-hmm. I mean, it took me a long time to say, I want to wake up and I want to be calm enough to eat breakfast. And I just didn't know how overwhelmed my system was. I didn't know that was a thing. I thought that's just how I was. And you know, it's been fun because Ashleigh and I, like I told you, we just met, and then she was my mentor. All my mentors are 40. Don't worry.
It's a good age.
And I went through this whole thing and then started hiking. So then I got out of the program and started hiking with Ashleigh. And it's so interesting how she has been able to observe ways that I unlocked and how I started to implement, and then started to feel like, oh man, I want to change everything. You know, like
shifted.
Okay, we need to shift.
Yeah.
And
it's amazing.
It was one of the big changes that I made over the summer that is from what I wrote down, what I affirmed, what my vision was of what my life I wanted was that I started to wake up and go outside to watch the sunrise and have this very calm, beautiful start of my day where I would breathe and watch the sunrise. And I was like, this is what I wrote down on my paper. This is what I wanted. And all I had to do, I mean, it wasn't simple. It took me, you know, but
it's a process.
I did it. I do it. And now it's like,
and it's real and it's genuine. And that's it, right? Anyone can. And that's where I want people to understand the real shift, the real change is anyone can be like, okay, I'm going to get up and watch the sunrise. I'm going to go out and stretch, but you're still doing it with that operating system of, oh, I got to get to work. Oh, I'm wasting time. Or, okay, I'm doing this, but I'm watching the clock and I'm going to be here for 15 minutes versus I'm doing this and I'm honoring this and I'm enjoying this. And I love giving myself
and now this is a non-negotiable.
And this is who I am. Yeah. And this is what I do. And I can access fight or flight throughout the day when I'm working and I've got deadlines, and I can come calm. And that's where it's a flexible nervous system. Right. Like no one's regulated all the time. We wouldn't want to be like, anytime I stepped on stage, I wasn't regulated. I was accessing my fight or flight mechanisms to be a great athlete, performer. Like when you're got deadlines, we need those. Like it's not all bad. It's life-saving. It's beautiful. It's high achieving.
At the right moment, right?
At the right moment. Yeah. But we want to come out of it. We want to choose it. And that's what I love is you can still shift your whole life, create new company, business, access like that part of you that is that go-getter and get it done. And you can totally be quiet and honor and be there with the sunrise and stretch and just be peaceful. Like that's what we want, is we're choosing and we're accessing and we're coming out. And that's what's so beautiful, is it's not just a routine. It's part of your operating system now. And it truly has shifted and is shifting. It's always a journey for all of us, but it's you now. And it's so awesome.
It is.
This
so
podcast,
awesome.
by the way, once we're done filming, my mind's already spinning. I have new ideas. I like this. This is a very inspiring podcast. I really, truly believe that there are so many people listening to this that I'm a little afraid for you that your phone is going to be ringing off the hook. No, seriously, because there's not a lot of, you're the first person I know that's really doing this kind of work. And there's a lot of people that need it. And not just women. The guys, I'm going to say, even men.
I have male clients for sure. I definitely have more women than men, just because men tend to be more resistant to
their feelings and stuff.
Feelings and things. But no, for sure. But
with men, what happens is it's less emotional for men. Like I can just think for myself, how come I'm not working out? Well, because as soon as I wake up, even if I wake up at 8 o'clock or 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. or 5 a.m., my immediate emotion is like, I got to pull my email.
Right. Got to get going.
I can't, and it doesn't, I could wake up an hour later than I did yesterday and it's still the same feeling, or an hour early. When
I used to not be able to wake up without scrolling.
Right.
Yeah. And get
all those messages. And now?
Men have their own.
Well, they go into overwhelmness, right?
Yep.
So what happens? You shut down. You're like, you get so overwhelmed, and I've been through this. Like you get so overwhelmed, you have all these things, and then you shut down, and then you just don't do anything. You don't do any of the things. Like there's these things you're like, I know I need to get this done, and I'm always hitting the deadlines. I'm always doing things I need to do, and then you get to a point where you get so overwhelmed, you just like, you get paralyzed.
Yeah.
And so for men, it's a little bit different than with women.
A lot of men, either that or coping behaviors. Right.
Correct.
Alcohol. Drugs, pornography,
self-medication.
Right. Because also too, they have to be tough. Right. So there's also, they have a lot, but then also it's like, I can't allow myself to have emotions. Right. And there's so much to that, depending, right, how you were raised, but also just being the man of the house and the father and provider. There's just a lot of dynamic.
There's different signs though. So for the women out there listening, you know the signs for yourself, or maybe you have girlfriends that you can see that are going through these kind of emotional, they have this emotional toxicity that they can't heal. They can't get better. They can't get out of the funk they're in. But when you're looking at your own husband, it's totally different. Look for different signs. Are they using coping mechanisms, or are they not doing things they normally would get done because they're in this state of paralysis because they've got to the point where that tipping point, that last drop of water that causes it to overflow, and you're just like frozen.
Or even some men, it's the opposite too, with a temper, right?
Right.
And again, there's patterns, there's personalities, but there's also that explosive of a lot of unresolved stuff. Right. That's then getting also triggered, right? It's not from nothing, right? It's an over-exaggeration because the brain has all these other pieces, right? So we're not just stuck in whatever patterns, but there's like the oscillation of the shutdown, fight or flight, fawn, right? Paralyzation, but then there's the fight, which is also just the right? And so there it definitely does register different, but there's signs. We all can have the capacity to be flexible, to be a go-getter and do nothing and be calm and just having the choice and be connected, right? There's also withdraw. Men will kind of withdraw from their family, from their wife, and not really have that emotional connection. So the signs are different, but nobody's stuck unless you choose to be by nature of not looking for options, right? Like this. And I get it. You get exhausted. I certainly did myself, right? And I get that, but no one is stuck forever. And if we have the right tools and process, just like if you have the right way to support your body,
right?
Your body can heal, it was designed to, and your brain was designed to change. Like, even though it's designed to stay in what it knows, is designed to change. We just have to know how to get it there. So exciting.
It is. Yeah. This has been an amazing, I don't know how long we've been doing this. We just kind of ran. No, but it didn't feel long. It just flowed, and this has been a great episode, and I'm so glad.
I appreciate what you share. I think so. Ashleigh, let's talk about where people can find you. I know you have a podcast.
Yes, which I need to get back into. If you're a client, you always get priority, and that's why I've been training someone for the last year. Because, you get stuck and you can't expand. So I do have a podcast. It is the Bio-Emotional Healing Podcast. I am getting back into that. If you go to my website, which I'm sure you'll link, because my name, Ashleigh D. Lello, is not easy. If you do search Bio-Emotional Healing, I will come up. But my name,
with a hyphen,
my name is my website, ashleighdlello.com. And there you can, I just actually did a whole new training on the brain, free training on the brain that will just expand even deeper on all of this.
Videos on there that you can kind of get a feel.
Yes. There's a free brain body blueprint, which is such a great place to start, like 3-step action plan of how to start disrupting your stress responses, like the actual how. That's so effective. I know people think it's free and it's not a value. It is. That's a great place to training. And then if you're like, I just need to change, like, I'm tired of this roller coaster, right? As most people are, then you can schedule a free consultation. Because it is in-depth work, as you know, it is a commitment. Like, you'll be the one to change your life.
Well, and when you go, like, it costs.
It's an investment.
It's an investment.
Sure. And it's your life. And no one shows up if they don't invest.
Right.
And unfortunately, it's just like functional medicine. It's like a lot of these modalities that truly work, that don't just keep you here, manage your things,
Band-Aids.
that actually fix what you're going through. Unfortunately, none of those things are covered by insurance.
No.
But you want to know what? Your things that are covered by insurance, you're having to constantly go in for years after years after years.
So it's like, you're going to go to therapy for 5 years, which kind of check.
Right.
This was, if I had to think of it like almost like a certification.
Sure.
Almost like a college course, almost like a graduate type of a situation, because nobody could do that work for me.
No.
And it did take me some time, and I still go back to it, and I still think about it a lot. And I think
it's part of you now, though. You're doing it every day.
Now I can do it for myself.
Yes.
I catch myself in some negative,
which is the best kind of medicine. It's the best kind of medicine. Like, if you even like read,
empowered.
If you read the title of my book, like A Foundation Wells, underneath it says, what does it say? Eliminating doctor dependency forever.
Yes, but isn't
because
that
I
worth
want
the
to
gift?
empower you as like a functional medicine doctor to understand how to stay healthy through detoxing, through eating healthy, and through doing these things. If you keep coming in to see me, I look at that as a failure as a practitioner. And so I love the work you're doing. I just think that you're probably going to have to train another person after this episode.
We're in the process.
You're going to be 3 months out, 4 months out.
Well, and what I will tell people is, what's the cost on your life?
Yeah.
Like, what's the cost in your life to not live and feel? That's the number one regret when people die. Mm-hmm. And it's not, yes, I wish I would have done this, but it's like, man, I wish I would have been more present. I wish I didn't spend so much time stressing. I wish I would have felt better. Like,
but even if you go, like, I'm sure that as a listener, there's a lot of things that we've hit on that it's like, and hopefully some curiosity has been sparked, and hopefully you're maybe even seeing this perspective that I have now of envisioning and how these things are starting to need to come together. Go follow Ashleigh on social media, because she does a good job sharing, and there's a lot of...
I have a lot of room to improve there, but
well, we all do.
To each their own.
And as your curiosity grows, you will know what you need and where you will find that healing, recognizing that you're in charge of that. And I think that that's kind of an overarching theme for this podcast, is that, we've kind of gotten to this place in our life where we give and we've got a lot, we've lived a lot. And what we want to do is take this life that we've lived, recognize how beautiful, whether it's this high or this low, it's beautiful. The stories are beautiful, meaningful. And now we have the power to take the information that we can gain from each other and be better humans in every way, and be a better models for the people who look up to us, for the people who need us, and that we can then empower them through our experience and our understanding and learning, and the understanding that we have in this kind of age of information, of podcasts, of virtual classes and whatever, this ability we have to share and teach and help each other through is God's greatest gift to us.
For sure.
Well, and imagine you go through this work and you can finally enjoy the present instead of worrying about the past or the future, which, by the way, the past and the future don't exist.
Yep.
They do not exist. The only thing that exists is right now. And so many people are so worried about the future and still dealing with unresolved things from the past that they never have the opportunity to actually live in the present. And you just have to tell yourself, the past doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. And maybe at one point it did.
You can't do anything.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do.
And I know I say that.
The future's the same way.
Can do. Or people spend all day, every day fighting themselves, fighting their brain, fighting their body. And that's where their greatest energy goes, which also robs them to be present. So, the inability to do that robs the beauty of life, right? So let's change that. And information is definitely needed and awesome, and doing is required. Yeah. Right? Because also nowadays people can just learn and never do.
Yeah, you want to.
You have to enjoy the roller coaster ride. You can't worry about what you're going to be doing when you get off the roller coaster ride or what you didn't do before you got on. You're going to have the highs and lows, but you have to enjoy that ride. And this allows, and I think this is great. I just honestly, your email's going to be blowing up.
Well, good. Let's get people healed and feeling amazing and enjoying their life and being free to do that. That's what we want.
Yeah. I love it. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you, both of you.
And
thanks for coming.
And thank you for being here. Like I said, share this information, share this episode, listen to it twice. I'm looking down. It's a nice, long, beefy one. And so whether you're hiking or walking, maybe it's taking a couple days, let it sink in. Because it matters. And I just love you.
I love you.
And we'll see you next time here at The Shift.
Dr. Von Watts, a chiropractor and founder of Foundational Wellness, shares his insights on how the body functions as a whole system, along with the principles he uses to help people get on the path to better health. Please remember, the information shared on this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not intended to replace medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Every person is unique, and your health decisions should always be made in consultation with a qualified healthcare professional who knows your individual circumstances. Neither Dr. Watts nor this podcast is responsible for any actions you choose to take based on the discussions in these episodes.